Good morning, students. So here we have our math assignment for Wednesday, October 28th. And after you complete your speed drills and review exercises, you're going to be adding and subtracting fractions, this time with unlike denominators. So we have been used to adding and subtracting fractions, but the denominators are the same. So this time, we are practicing with unlike denominators. And just like we learned yesterday, to be able to do that, we have to find the least common denominator, or LCD, first. Then there's a little bit of multiplication involved. So it's important to pay attention if you've never done this before, because when we're adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, there are a couple of different steps that is different from adding with like denominators. So first, we're going to find the least common denominator. So here it gives you a few examples, but I'm going to do the first two samples with you. So here for sample 1, we have 1 over 4 plus 1 over 3. And we cannot just simply add them. We have to first find the least common denominator, and yesterday we figured out that the least common denominator of 4 and 3 is 12, because it is the smallest number that both 4 and 3 fit into evenly. So after we write our least common denominator a little bit far apart from our problems, we're then going to figure out which number times this number gives you 12, and which number times this number gives you 12. So we know that 4 times 3 gives you 12. So we're making up a little math problem. So we would put 3 here. And 3 times what gives you 12? 3 times 4. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that number, the number that we had to solve, and we're going to put it up here as well to multiply it by the numerator. So we would end up with 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 4 is 4, and now we have a new set of fractions with a common denominator with a like denominator that we can now add. So we would just add 3 plus 4, 7, over our denominator 12. And that is your answer. You would reduce if necessary, but in this case we cannot reduce 7 over 12. Let's do the second sample together. So here we have 4 over 5 minus, so pay attention to those symbols. This time we're subtracting. Minus 1/2. So let's first find the least common denominator of 5 and 2. This one's pretty easy and common. We learned yesterday that the least common denominator of 5 and 2 is 10, because 10 is the smallest number that both 5 and 2 fit into evenly. Now, which number times 2 gives you 10? Well, we know that 2 times 5 gives you 10. And what number times 5 gives you 10? 2. So this is a correct formula. 5 times 2 gives you 10, 2 times 5 gives you 10, and then we repeat that number with our numerator. So we would put a 2 up here and a 5 up here. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 5 is 5. So then we subtract. So make sure that you're paying attention. Don't add by mistake. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3 over 10. We cannot reduce that, so that is your answer. So let's do number 1 just to make perfectly sure, and we can practice our steps one more time. And of course, I encourage you to go back and repeat this lesson and then come on Zoom at 11 with any additional questions. So here for number 1, we have 2 over 3 plus 1/4, 1 over 4. Let me move that so you can see it. So we have to first find what? Our least common denominator. Always first. So what is our least common denominator of 3 and 4? Well, we just did it for the first sample. It's 12. So we put our 12 here, our least common denominator. What number times 3 gives you 12? Well, we know that 3 times 4 gives you 12. What number times 4 gives you 12? 3. And then we repeat the number up top for our numerator. 4 here and 3 here. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. And now we have 8 plus 3, we have plus here, is 11, over our denominator, 12. And we cannot reduce that. So that is it for our first examples. And of course, let me know if you have any questions. We will have a practice page tomorrow on this. So we will not be moving on from this just yet. You will have this today and then another practice sheet with adding and subtracting with unlike denominators tomorrow. And here for our language arts lesson, we have let's practice. So what we're going to be doing today is just continuing to practice identifying our simple sentences and compound sentences. So here for Think A, it says in the blank before the number, write S for simple sentence, C for compound sentence. Place the commas in the compound sentences, and then underline the verbs 2 times and the subjects 1 time. So what we're doing today is not only identifying the simple and compound sentences, but placing the commas. So if we go back, we will notice that the comma comes right before the connecting word. So I'm just going back to page 54 that we studied on Monday. And notice here with the compound sentences, there's always a comma before that connecting word, before and, but, or, nor, for, yet. So we're just going to look for those as we identify our sentences and place the comma as needed if it's compound. So let's go back to our page 57. And let's try number 1. So it says, the horse and wagon were captured, but the driver escaped. So here we have a compound sentence, but I don't want you to get confused. This connecting word here at the beginning is only connecting 2 nouns, so that doesn't mean it's a compound sentence. What gives it away is over here, but the driver escaped. So that is where it's connecting another sentence. So you would place a comma right here, right before the but. Then you would underline the verbs 2 times and subjects once as we are used to doing. So we'll find the verbs, were captured, escaped. And the subjects, well here we have 2 subjects. It's actually a compound subject. So we can actually put 1 whole line. And then we have another subject here for our second sentence that is connected. Let's do number 2 as extra practice. He came and went like a pleasant thought. So notice this. Although there is a connecting word, it is only 1 sentence. It is only connecting 2 verbs. There are not 2 ideas in one. So this is a simple sentence with a compound subject, came and went. So you can either underline the verb separately, or because it's compound, you can also do this. And then our subject once, he. There's only 1 subject. So this page is meant to practice. If you are a little bit confused, don't worry, do the best you can and move on to the next one because we're learning. However, if you're having a lot of trouble, mark your question with a little star and then bring it to Zoom so that I can help you. But I encourage you to just identify if the sentence has two sentences in one. And if it does, then you'll know it's compound, and then you will put a comma before your connecting word. And then here on Think B, it's a more simple exercise. You are underlining all the verbs 2 times and the subjects once. So you're just identifying the verbs and then the subjects. We've been doing this quite a bit. However, just remember that not always is the subject at the beginning of the sentence as we have been used to. Sometimes the subjects, which are the thing or person that the sentence is talking about, is sometimes later into the sentence. So my biggest tip is to read them to yourself out loud. Reading them out loud helps you better identify where the subject is, who or what the sentence is talking about. And here for our spelling assignment for Wednesday. So we have here some noun exercises and adjective exercises. So you will be very familiar because we do this in language arts as well. So we're going to be using our spelling dictionary, which is very important. And it says, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. Nouns can be singular or plural. Write a noun that could replace the underlined word or words in each sentence. Use your spelling dictionary. So what we're doing is replacing the underlined words with a better word here from our list. So for number 1, for example, it says every member of a community, underlined, has a duty to prevent wildfires. So we're going to find a word from our list that best replaces just these underlined words. So which word from our list could replace member of a community? So I will give you the first one. If you don't already know, it is citizen. Citizen fits best. Every citizen has a duty to prevent wildfires. So it says use your spelling dictionary, because if you're having a hard time identifying the words, you might have to go into the back of the book and take a look at some definitions to match them. So what I would do is try my best to pick out a few words that you think may replace them, and then look them up in the back of the book just to make sure. And here for adjective, we know that an adjective is a describing word. So we're going to write an adjective that could replace the underlined words. So up here was nouns, here are adjectives. So you're going to do the same thing. Read the sentences, look at the words that are underlined, and choose the best word from our list to replace it, using the spelling dictionary as needed. And just a reading reminder, bring this to our Zoom meeting so that we can continue practicing our passage. And I'm going to be emailing another passage, the second one that comes after this. So keep a lookout in your email as we're going to review some of Shakespeare and the history, and we're going to review our Midsummer Night's Dream passage today.